Sometimes I still can't quite believe where we are now. Ethan and I? We're pregnant. 3 months along, and honestly, we're both completely over the moon. It's wild, because just a few months ago, our marriage was, well, it was hanging by a thread. I was actually talking to lawyers about divorce. And the main reason for all that heartache? His mother, Carol, and his sister, Brittany. They nearly broke us, but in a strange way, they also helped us find our way back to each other. It's been a monumental shift, and it all started with a visit that felt unsettlingly sweet. I remember it like yesterday. I was at home in Madison, Wisconsin, minding my own business, when Carol and Brittany just dropped by. Now, visits from them were usually a prelude to some kind of drama, so I braced myself. But this time, they were different. Exceptionally nice. Complimenting my outfit, telling me how good I looked. And that's when I knew something was seriously off. These two never missed an opportunity to be less than kind to me. So the sweetness? It was a red flag the size of Texas. Then came the bombshell. They started thanking me. For my generosity. For letting Brittany, who was pregnant and, let's be honest, pretty broke, move into my house. My house? I just stared. My mind was racing, completely blank. I hadn't said anything of the sort. I had no idea what they were even talking about. Now, to be clear, I knew Brittany and her husband, Daniel, were in a bad spot. They'd been evicted from their apartment and were staying with Carol. Brittany had been desperate to escape that arrangement, and yeah, there'd been subtle hints from them about how much space Ethan and I had in our house. It's just us two, after all, and my parents had left me this 4-bedroom house before I married Ethan. It's mine, solely in my name, not even marital property. But I had never once said Brittany could move in. Not even close. When I finally found my voice, I asked them, "Where on earth did you get this idea?" And they just looked at me, completely confident, and said, "Ethan told us. He said you had no problem with it." My own husband had apparently assured them I'd be thrilled to house his pregnant sister and her husband until they got back on their feet. I was stunned. And livid. But I couldn't start a shouting match in my own living room. Not then. I just let them leave, my insides churning. I couldn't wait for Ethan to come home. I needed to know what in the world he'd been thinking. When he walked through the door, I didn't even say hello. I just immediately demanded to know why he'd told his family such a thing. He looked completely confused, genuinely baffled. He asked me what I was talking about, and I pretty much exploded, recounting the whole bizarre conversation with Carol and Brittany. I was furious. But then, something unexpected happened. He didn't look guilty. Not one bit. First confused, then stunned, then truly alarmed. He swore up and down that he had never told them I was willing to house them. He said they were the ones who'd been constantly hinting to him about our space, about Brittany's predicament. They'd been hounding him for weeks. He admitted that, yes, he'd finally relented and told them he'd talk to me. Just talk to me. He'd actually asked me about it once, months ago, and I'd immediately said no. So, he'd dropped it. He thought his silence, his lack of follow-up, would be enough. That they'd get the hint. He was so wrong. They'd taken his silence as a green light. I was so mad at him, I didn't believe him at first. Our history, you see, was complicated. Ethan had always struggled to say no to his family. He'd been a textbook mama's boy, doing whatever his mother and sister asked. We'd had countless fights about them stomping all over my boundaries. It took years, and a lot of arguments, for him to start growing a spine. He still messed up, often promising things he shouldn't, allowing them to walk all over us. So, my immediate reaction was, here we go again. But Ethan, bless him, called them right then and there. Put them on speaker. When he confronted Carol and Brittany, they hemmed and hawed. A lot. Eventually, they admitted he hadn't actually given them a definitive yes. Their defense? It was just a big misunderstanding. They thought he was simply going to inform me that they were moving in, not ask me. After some back and forth, he made it crystal clear, no promises were made. We weren't housing them. You'd think that would be the end of it, right? You'd be wrong. So wrong. Even after being told, unequivocally, that it wasn't happening, Carol and Brittany refused to accept it. They started talking about what kind of nursery they'd set up in my house. I was beyond frustrated, practically screaming, "Why do you think this is still happening?" They got defensive, said they'd already made plans, that it would be cruel for me to deny them now. Brittany actually said I should just go with the flow because it would be rude to say no. That's when I finally lost it. I yelled that there was absolutely no way she was moving in, and they had no right to ignore my wishes for my house. There was a huge argument, and I ended up hanging up on them. I just couldn't take their nonsense anymore. In the days that followed, the harassment began. Non-stop calls and texts, accusing me of being heartless, selfish, mean, cruel. They said I was going back on my promise. A promise I never made. They even dragged other family members into it, who started calling me, telling me I was a monster for letting a pregnant woman fend for herself. God's way of telling me to do a good deed. It was infuriating, especially since Brittany already had a place to stay with her mother. My house, by the way, has 4 bedrooms, but 2 are dedicated home offices for Ethan and me. Brittany's plan? Take over one of my offices for her perfect nursery. She even made snide comments about how I didn't deserve such a big house, how it was unfair I inherited it while others had to buy their own. She's always been jealous. I knew, deep down, that if she moved in, she'd never leave. She'd use the baby as an excuse, expect me to care for them both. I was right to stand my ground. Then came the day that cemented everything. I was at a coworker's wedding in Milwaukee, enjoying myself, when my Ring doorbell notification went off. Ethan was at his office, working his butt off on a big project, so I knew it couldn't be him. And I wasn't expecting anyone. So, I checked the camera. And there they were. Carol and Brittany. With a moving truck. And 2 men unloading boxes. My blood ran cold. I immediately told the bride and groom what was happening and tore out of there. When I pulled up, Carol and Brittany looked startled, but quickly put on their fake smiles. They genuinely expected me to believe this was normal. Carol had somehow gotten into my house. Ethan had given her a key once, years ago, but I'd made him get it back. My best guess? She'd just made a copy of that copy before giving it back. I stomped up to them, demanding to know what they thought they were doing. Carol, beaming, told me they were moving Brittany's things in, as planned. They'd apparently spent the day before at HomeGoods and IKEA, buying everything for Brittany's nursery and new room. So, naturally, they just brought it all over. I was speechless. What followed was a screaming match. I was yelling at them to get their stuff and leave, or I was calling the cops. They were screaming that I was unfair, heartless, stressing Brittany out and hurting the baby. Horrible things were said. And yes, I did call the police. They were escorted off my property. My phone blew up afterward. Extended family members, all of them having heard a twisted version of events from Carol and Brittany, started barraging me with texts and calls, calling me a heartless monster, a baby hater. Brittany had the audacity to say that if anything happened to her baby, it would be my fault for stressing her out. I was beside myself. But then, Ethan came home. I expected him to be disappointed in me, maybe even angry for calling the police on his family. But he surprised me completely. He apologized. Deeply. He told me he would deal with them. And he did. He made calls, and the harassment from other family members significantly decreased. Carol and Brittany, though, continued to send nasty messages, saying I was breaking up the family, stealing him from them. Ethan later explained that his months of therapy had finally given him the wake-up call he needed. He'd been genuinely scared of losing me during our divorce talks. This incident with his mother and sister just starkly reminded him of what was at stake. He realized how toxic and manipulative they truly were. We both know now there was no misunderstanding. This was deliberate. And then, things took an even wilder turn. Ethan called Daniel, Brittany's husband. Daniel, who is actually a decent guy, had been completely absent through all this, working 2 jobs to keep them afloat. He had no idea the extent of Brittany's antics. Ethan filled him in. Daniel was horrified. He checked his bank accounts and found Brittany had blown almost every last dollar on those nursery purchases. All that money, wasted, not to mention the moving truck fee. Daniel was furious. He confronted Brittany, and they had a massive fight. He told her he was done. He was divorcing her. Of course, Carol and Brittany immediately blamed me for ruining her marriage. They tried to verbally attack me, but Ethan stepped in, ferociously defending me. He told them both he was done with them too. Done with the toxicity. He finally understood that he had to stand by the family he made with me. So, here we are. Carol is reportedly freaking out, realizing Brittany might be a permanent fixture in her small 2-bedroom home. She's tried to reach out to Ethan, saying she'll be better. But it's too little, too late. We're both ignoring them. Brittany quit her job without consulting Daniel, so she's not getting alimony. Soon, she'll have to get off her butt and work like a normal person. It's been a crazy, emotionally draining journey. But it brought Ethan and me closer than ever. He's truly standing up for me now, correcting narratives, protecting me. And as for the pregnancy? It's completely unexpected, but it feels like a new beginning, a testament to the strong, united front we've built. What do you think was the wildest part of this whole ordeal?